Hey there, friends. Thought I'd hop on here and do some live sewing. I have a bunch of mindless sewing to do. Oh, I didn't set my timer. So I thought I'd set a timer for 30 minutes. Go. And just do a little sewing. Hang out. See who else was hanging out and sewing this evening. Feel free to chime in the comments where you're sewing from, where you're hanging out from. If you're a quilter, if you're new to quilting, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions while I just sit here and do some mindless hangout sewing. This is chain piecing, so I've already cut all these pieces. I actually have the pieces for 2 quilts here, and I'll sit and chain piece them, and then if I get far enough, I'll iron them as well. But I'll see how far I get in 30 minutes on chain piecing both of these with just all the pieces cut out, and put them right sides together and sew. Just fun, simple, easy quilts that I'm working on today. Hi, so glad you're here on live. Love all your makes and get so much. Oh, thank you so much. Today was an absolutely uninspired day. I sat behind my computer dealing with email nonsense and spreadsheets all day, which is so I told myself that I would reward myself with some sewing at the end of the day if I got it all done, and I did get it done. So I get to sew. I've earned it. I've earned just 30 minutes of sewing time, and it's going to make me a much happier human before I go hang out with my family. And they deserve a happy human, a happy mom to go hang out with them. So I set my timer, 30 minutes. I think that's all I should need to feel like I've accomplished something productive, which quilting always feels much more productive to me. And these projects have been cut for weeks and haven't been able to sew on them, which also makes me grumpy that like I've got projects just ready to sew, and then no time at my sewing machine. So the only bummer is that I'm sewing in the evening and I actually have a really great view. Not there, that's the view of the desk, but just over there. Over there are windows, and so I would have a view of the mountain, and I don't have that right now, so that's the only bummer. But yep. Let's see. Hi, Jackie. Welcome. Retired from the Army after 20 years and enjoying crocheting, knitting, sewing, and in general creative time. That sounds amazing. When I grow up, I want to be retired. I want to be a retired quilter when I grow up one day. In California, working on some wheelchair donation quilts. That's incredible. That's so awesome. I don't know if you saw the recent video that I did where I made a quilt using 10-inch squares. But 2 of the 10-inch squares I then converted into pockets, zippered pockets, so that people can put things like their earbuds or a snack or their phone in those zippered pockets. So if they, it was designed as part of the By Annie So Pink initiative, specifically with folks undergoing chemo in mind, so that they have a comfort quilt that is also super practical. They can put like the paperback book they're reading, whatever, in those pockets, and then have those really easily accessible and not falling between the cracks of the sofa or their chemo chair or whatever, and they can find their stuff. So I think it could also be very handy for someone in a wheelchair or in another like setting like that. Let's see. Cotton for Me says, lively fabric makes me want to get ready for a snow flurry evening. So this fabric is Ink Perfect in indigo. And this is the fabric that I'm using for the 2025 block of the month calendar, which one of my boring computer things today was approving the proof for the 2025 block of the month calendar. So that has been officially sent to print. And so we should have those calendars in time for the November 1st launch, which is when I have it on the calendar to launch it, is November 1st. So I sewed all day and I'm not happy with the product. Patterns I chose were too busy. That's a bummer. You know what? Sometimes there's like a way to rescue that. Maybe it needs some sashing between the blocks if you can. Maybe some quilting will tone it down. Or maybe you just, honestly, it was several years ago. It was when I became an Art Gallery Fabrics socialite, and I'm now their celebrity. But as anyone does after I'd been quilting for over 20 years at that point, so many UFOs and projects. And I knew that we were going to announce my Art Gallery Fabrics socialite status in February. So a lot of, at that point, I was committing to only using Art Gallery Fabrics, and I have ever since, and I've been so happy. But I had a lot of projects that weren't Art Gallery Fabrics. So I decided that any of the projects that I was not going to finish by that February when the announcement was made, I would give away. So partially done projects went to the guild, and people, I know that they went to people who finished them and turned them, like, made them into donation quilts. So they found a home, and it wasn't with me because I was never going to finish them. So if you just look at this quilt and it doesn't bring you joy, there's no shame in just saying, you know what, this is going to be a donation. And maybe you just finish the top and donate the top and don't worry about the quilting and the backing and the binding. Or maybe you finish the whole thing and donate it. Or maybe you just leave it where it is, throw it in a box and donate it. That's okay. The fabric will find a new home where it's supposed to be. I firmly believe that. Oh yay, coming in from Maryland. Welcome, Maryland. I'm going live a little later than I do. Normally I go live more during the day. I thought I would try like an evening live. I know it's really late over on the East Coast now. It's just about midnight on the East Coast. But here in California, it's not yet 9 p.m. And so I said by 9 p.m., I'm going to shut everything down and go hang out with my family. But I just needed a little bit of happy sew time before I go hang out with family. By the way, I need to be a good YouTuber and say, hit that subscribe button. It should be like right down here somewhere, I think, if you're not subscribed. But make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's a super big deal for YouTubers to have folks subscribe to our channels. It means the world. At 100,000 subscribers, YouTube will actually send us a plaque. Which, as someone who, no one sends me plaques anymore. I don't get awards. I work for myself. So it's a super big deal. And I'm really, really trying to get to that 100,000 by the end of the calendar year. And I'm at like 71,000 right now. So it's doable. It is doable, but I need everyone to subscribe. And even better, if you send my link to friends and say, hey, she's pretty cool. Subscribe. Or even like, hey, she's obnoxious, please subscribe. I'll take it. I will totally take that. Put your sewing away. You never got to it today. That's terrible. Oh, Annette, I'm so glad that you liked the video with the pockets. What fabric line am I stitching? So this is Art Gallery Fabrics Ink Perfect in Indigo. And they have another version coming out, Ink Perfect it's in black instead of blue. I think it's called Midnight? I don't remember. No, I'd have to look it up. But they have another version of this same fabric in black and white instead of blue and white. But this is Ink Perfect in Indigo. And I don't know if you can tell, some of the fabrics are actually linen. So if you see how that one has like a different look to the fabric, like the weave, it's because it actually is a linen blend fabric. So there's a couple of the different fabrics that have a linen blend, both a couple white and a couple blue linen blends. So they're great also for making garments. And all this is Art Gallery Fabrics, which means that they also feel amazing. Art Gallery Fabrics just have a great drape and feel to them. Let's see. Oh, kudos, yes, for Annette making her quilts and giving them 60 wheelchair quilts for a nursing home. That is a big project. That's incredible. That's so fabulous. Hi, Mimi. Oh, okay. So I get questions about this mat all the time. This mat is called a Sew Steady Grid Glider. And it is not a cutting mat. It is it's like kind of sticky on the back. This has got like a little bit of stick to it. And so it just sticks on there. I have to lift it up when I need to get to my bobbin. But it just sticks right on here. and it gives me just a little bit more of like a runway to be able to line up my fabric pieces. And then also when I'm doing something, I'm like, oh, what size is this one? I can just put it up against here and say, oh, I can see exactly what size that piece is to make sure I'm putting the right piece on. It's just handy. And if you have a machine that has like bumps, like for me, this table doesn't sit exactly flush with the machine. So when I have pieces that have a seam on the bottom, so the seam comes up, the seam will sometimes catch in that groove and flip the other way. And then you have twisty seams in your back. This keeps everything smooth. So they're not incredibly expensive, and I've had this one for a couple of years. It just lasts. From lifting it up every now and then, this gets less sticky. Like you can see how quickly that peeled up. It's definitely getting less sticky because the lint gets on there. I'll just take it to the bathroom, wash off with some soap and water, and stick it right back on, and then it's sticky again. Ooh, Cotton Cut's Puzzle Mystery Quilt. The phone never stopped ringing. I hope they were good phone calls. I hope they were fun phone calls. I did on Friday have a great several hour long catch up phone call with a friend of mine. I used to live in Las Vegas and she's still there and I don't get to see her enough. But a couple times a year we hop on the phone for like 4 hours and we catch up on all that's good and bad and indifferent. Just, yeah, everything that we've been up to, the places we've been, the people we've seen. Just catch up on life. She sent me photos of her living room and how she'd like moved the furniture around, and yeah. Those are good. Oh, just sales calls. Well, I mean, if they were unwelcome sales calls, sometimes, just turning the ringer off is a good thing. But I don't know. I'm always nervous about turning the ringer off too because I've got kids in school. And last week, one of my kiddos had a short day, and I knew that, and I thought I had the alarm set right, but I didn't. And so he called, but I had my ringer off. No, I didn't know. I had earbuds in. And I was listening to something on the iPad. And so I didn't hear him call. And then I happened to look at the phone and saw that I had a missed call. And I thought that was weird. And I saw it was from the school. And I was like, oh no, I hope everything's okay with him. And then I looked at the time and realized, oh no, he has a short day today. And just as I realized all this, my husband called because our son had called him after me because I hadn't answered. And so he was calling to check in on me and make sure that I was on my way to go pick up our kiddo, which I was, and then I was late. It happens sometimes. I never forget them and never forget about them. I just sometimes forget the time. So what's everyone else up to tonight? Are you sewing? Are you hanging out? Is it late where you are? Are you just getting ready to go to bed? Because for East Coasters, it's getting close to midnight here. And midnight is definitely past my bedtime, although sometimes I do stay up way past my bedtime. I've been working all hours the last couple weeks, getting everything ready. This is really exciting. So the 2025 block of the month is every single month a new quilt block. And also a new video showing you how to make that quilt block. And all of the videos are done. They've not only been recorded and edited, but they're actually all been scheduled for the first day of the month at 4 a.m. So I have 13 videos already scheduled for 2025 here on YouTube. The 13th is the finishing video, so how to put the whole quilt together. So November 1st, fingers crossed, I'll have those calendars in and be able to do the launch, which will of course be a video here on YouTube, which reminds me, for those of you who are watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button, subscribe so you find out when that's coming out. It's actually using, coincidentally, the same fabric line, Ink Perfect in Indigo, although of course you can use whatever fabrics you like. And then I do still need to film the bonus videos for next year. So if you participated in the 2023 or 2024 block of the month, you know that it's a calendar. And on the calendar pages every single month are the instructions for how to make that month's quilt block. And at the end is finishing instructions. But next year's video is all on half square triangles. And so I did all the videos in like the very kind of like beginner, basic, traditional way of doing half square triangles. But there are so many really cool methods for making half square triangles, and I wanted to like really explore those. I've been wanting to for a couple years. So I picked out 12 different ways to make half square triangles, and every single month I'm going to do a bonus video, and that bonus video is going to be me making the same block for that month, so a second time, and doing it with a different half square triangle method. So that could be triangle paper or specialty rulers, just all different kinds of methods to make half square triangles. So that should be super fun. Because half square triangles are such a common unit that we use all the time, and knowing the different techniques, because different techniques have different uses. Like if you need to make a ton of half square triangles, my go-to is triangle paper, because I just feel like it's the fastest, easiest way to just make a ton of half square triangles that are all the same size. But there are so many cool methods out there. So I want to play with some, and some of them are new to me that I've never tried before. So I can't wait to try those. What am I making? I'm working on a project, like an upcoming project. This actually won't be out until fall of 2025. So I can't quite talk about it yet. So it's just it's basically just mindless sewing right now. It's cut out pieces that I'm sewing together. And it will be a quilt, but this pattern won't be out until fall of 2025. And sometimes that's how far I work ahead on projects. I just did a 6,000-mile trip in 6 days to move my grandkids. Now sewing starts back tomorrow. Oh my goodness. 6,000 miles in 6, that's a lot. But what an amazing grandparent you are. I'm assuming you're Mimi because that's your name. So awesome job, Mimi. I'm sure they really, really appreciated that. Moving is the worst. It is the actual worst, and having help is the actual best. So I'm sure they were super appreciative. Struggling with my chronic pain with the weather. I was just working on my BF's hat. I'm knitting with my own graph image. He's excited to get his hat, but I knit slow when I'm hurting. So some of you who've been around a while may know that last October I messed up my tailbone really badly. And I still have pain from it. And we were up at a cabin this weekend, and the chairs were not super comfortable. And yeah, I only do comfy chairs now. Comfy chairs are the requirement. Is there a kit or just instructions? I'm assuming you mean for the block of the month next year. So the calendar has the cutting instructions and the pattern every single month. And then there is a kit if you wanted to use the same fabrics that I'm using. But if you want to use your own fabrics, you absolutely can. It would be, so it's the same format as the last 2 years have been, which is there's a background fabric, and the same background fabric is used in all 12 blocks. There are 4 focus fabrics, and you could change that up. You could do all the same focus fabric, or 2 different focus fabrics, 3 different focus fabrics, but I use 4, and they rotate. So month 1 uses fabric 1, month 2 uses fabric 2, then 3, then 4, and then back to month 5 using fabric 1. So each focus fabric is used 3 times, and there's 4 of them. And so each block is just 2 colors. It's a background and then the focus fabric. And then, so you can use the kit that I'm cutting and I'm putting together, or you can use your own fabrics. Both are fine. Up to you. And all the fabric requirements will be published when it launches on November 1st, so that you can go collect all your fabrics. You have a whole month to get your fabrics together if you don't want to use the kit. And then actually this year I'm doing 2 versions of the kit. One in the Ink Perfect Indigo, which is actually what this fabric line is that I made the quilt in. And then the other is in solids. It's still blue and white, but it's done in solids, because those bonus videos are going to be done in the solids rather than the Ink Perfect. So it's November 1st. Make sure you're subscribed. The video should go up November 1st with the block of the month details. So, and you'll be able to buy it in my shop. The fabric line that I'm sewing with right now is Ink Perfect in Indigo. Trying to finish up some whips before I move my next summer, cleaning my dad's house so my daughter and family can have it. Oh, what a lovely gift. That's incredible. Yep, the calendar will be available November 1st. I did that when I was alone at the park on a swing when the seat broke from under me. I was 11 and had to walk 5 blocks home. It still hurts at times 30 years later. Yeah, I did it on a slide at a children's museum. So I did it on a children's slide. Yes. However, there is video. So if you are an Instagram person and you go find me on Instagram, I'm Craftmore on Instagram, and you go up to the save stories up at the top, the little bubbles, and you find the one that's labeled with it's 2 emojis. It's a taco and then a slide, because I was also wearing of course, I was wearing a taco costume at the time. You'll get the whole story plus video of me going down the slide. So you don't have to follow me on Instagram. You totally can if you want, but if you're on Instagram, you can go be entertained by that. The funny part is we just moved them 4 months ago, and it's a repeat move to a better school. I love being a Meemaw. Your advent calendar quilt are my favorite each year. Oh, that makes me so happy. I have already decided what the advent calendar quilt is going to be next year. Because yes, I do work that far ahead. So I already know what the 2025 advent calendar quilt is going to be. The 2024 advent calendar videos have all been filmed, and that's my next project this week, is to edit all those and get those all scheduled for December. So those are all ready to go. And tomorrow my husband is actually going to go and pick up a bunch of the templates because they've already been cut out for the advent calendar, and then we'll get to start putting the advent calendars together here soon. So that's exciting. All right, more pieces to sew on. Hey, Misty, we love new. No reason to be sorry. Yes, take care of your back and use a support gel booty pillow. I actually have a pillow that has like kind of a keyhole. So it's not a donut, because a donut is for, you know, if your lady parts need a little support. Or maybe even if, you know, you need support in other parts of your lower. But the tailbone is all the way to your back. And so a donut means you would have to basically sit kind of in the middle of the chair in order for your tailbone to sit in that donut, and that makes the chair uncomfortable because you no longer have a back on the chair that you can lean up against. So it's more like a keyhole shape. Someone suggested it to me, and it's fabulous. I'm not sitting on it now because the chair that I'm sitting on right now is one from Baby Lock, and it is super comfortable, so I'm fine on this chair. I don't need the extra pillow. And I bought a second of this chair so that I could have one at the sewing machine and one at my desk. So I have actual comfy chairs to sit at the desk and at the sewing machine to, keep me from being in pain. You have one where you remove the area under your tailbone. It's firm for support but soft. I have to use it to sew or drive. Yeah, I was using that. It's teal. I can go show it to you because it's over on the chair over there. I was taking it on the airplane with me for a long time. I've been okay lately, but I should have brought it with me this weekend. Here, I'll show you. The one that I have is on Amazon. I bought it on Amazon. It's this one. That's the one that I have. And it is the best. And yeah, if I was still in the kind of pain that I was in, especially at the beginning, I would have one that stayed in the car and one that stayed here and one that stayed home. I would just buy 3 of them. Because I remember Thanksgiving last year, I sat down and had breakfast with the family and was sitting on the dining tables having just breakfast with the family. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to be able to do Thanksgiving dinner sitting here. So I came here by the office and picked up the pillow so that I could sit and have Thanksgiving dinner, because I would not have been able to sit for Thanksgiving dinner. I was still in so much pain. I don't know the brand. I just know that I got it off Amazon. And that, I've had it for a year and I've traveled with it. I've taken it all kinds of places. So I have a comfy seat, and I've not regretted it. I remember it being fairly expensive. It was around $70, which is not cheap, but I don't know. I feel like pain is even more expensive. I can't do pain. I mean, my pain tolerance is fine. It's not fun. All right, friends, for those of you just joining in, I'm sitting here working on some mindless sewing on a project. Just going to spend 30 minutes sewing. I have about 5 minutes left. So if you have any questions about anything quilty related, I'm happy to answer some questions. We have all kinds of fun on these lives, and I just pop on fairly randomly. So make sure you subscribe so that you know when I'm on. I've been trying to come on at least once a week just to be able to chat, because I work. It's just me here most of the time. And so it's nice to be able to connect with some folks. Questions that we've had so far tonight are the fabric line that I'm sewing with. This is Art Gallery Fabrics Ink Perfect in Indigo. And then what this mat is here, and this is a Sew Steady Grid Glider. It's not a cutting mat. It's just a smooth mat to make sewing easier, and it has all these lines to help me line things up really well. How do you keep the seam allowance with pinked edges? Okay, so pinked edge. When you get a pre-cut, measure your pre-cut, because it can vary a little bit, especially from brand to brand or even from cut to cut. And I've also found that it can also vary length and width of your pre-cut. So like if this is your square right here, the width might be exactly 10 inches and the height might be off a little bit. So measure it, and if it's a little bit too big, square it up. And then it's just the points. Once you've squared it up to your 10 inches, and there's 42 squares in a stack. So I'll do usually like groups of 7. It's like 6 groups of 7 that I'll trim up at a time. And then these have been squared up a little bit more for other reasons, but I'll square off the points as much as I need. And then line up the points. And then I like to, if I can, sew that pinked edge first. Because that way I can measure my piece after it's been sewn with the first seam and trim it up again if needed, if I have too much fabric still. But generally speaking, your pre-cut is from point to point. Not middle of the zigzag to middle of the zigzag, but point to point. Hi Miriam, buenas noches. Yo hablo solamente un poquito español, pero welcome, welcome. So I just speak a very little bit of Spanish. I speak 2 and a little bit languages, and Spanish is a little bit. And I definitely don't get enough practice for it to get any better. You're welcome, Mimi. I'm glad that was helpful. Any other questions? We have a couple more minutes. I was hoping I was going to get started on the second project that I've cut out, but no, I'm not even going to get enough headway on this first one. I'm sewing a strip to both sides of the square. So even if the alarm goes off, I think I'm just going to finish with sewing the strips to each side of the square, because then I'll feel like I've got somewhere. And that'll be progress. Progress on these blocks. But this has to get done by the end of the month. So I need to piece the blocks, then sew the blocks together, then quilt it, and then bind it. And I also have a whole stack of quilts that I also need to bind by the end of the month. So, but I don't mind as much when my to-dos are sewing to-dos. It's when my to-dos are spreadsheet to-dos that those are not my favorite. I like spreadsheets. I like how functional they are, but I don't necessarily like sitting in spreadsheets all day. Good night, Mimi. Sweet dreams. I'm only going to be on a little bit longer, maybe 5 minutes, just so I can get these seams finished, and then I'll use my thread cutter again to trim them up and have them stacked up, so tomorrow I can press them, and that'll be yep, see, there's my 30-minute timer. All right, we're just going to finish these up. It's just longer than 30 minutes, but that's okay. And then we'll get these pressed tomorrow. Anyone else? Oh, again, I need to remind folks, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, especially so that you get the details on November 1st for the Block of the Month calendar. That's going to be super fun. We're still finishing up the 2024 Block of the Month. So November 1st, there will be 2 videos. There will be the November block for 2024 plus the launch video for 2025. Lots going on. Lots going on. And then also the first week of November, we'll start shipping out those advent calendars. I'm super excited about that. Getting advents. The advent calendar this year is so good. I mean, I say that every year, but I'm not wrong. Every year they're so good. And we do still have some 2023 advents on the shelves. So if you want a 2023 advent and a 2024 advent, you can do that. You can get extra advent. I don't think there's such a thing as too much advent. I'm going to test that theory this year. I bought a bunch of advents myself. 3, I think about 6 advents. Maybe 5, and then my advent. So a total of 6 advents I'm going to be playing with this year. See if I can find a favorite. For those of you just popping in, let us know where you're popping in from. I love knowing where everyone is at. I'm in San Diego. So for me, it's Pacific time. It's getting late, but it's not super late. I have a late dinner planned with my husband. He works late tonight as well. So I figured, you know, he'll work late. I'll work a little late. And I'm definitely ending my day with sewing was a very, very good choice. Just getting a little bit of sewing in and hanging out with y'all. Also, good choice. Hi, Albuquerque. Welcome, welcome. I have been to the Albuquerque airport on my way to Dallas, but I've not actually hung out in Albuquerque. However, there was, I don't know if it's an Albuquerque thing, but at one of the little restaurant places in, and that beeping noise is my machine letting me know that my bobbin's almost out, so I'm going to be watching. I want it to run fully out, so it'll beep at me a couple more times, but there was this thing, and it was like a brownie, but better. It had like coconut and caramel, and it was so good. It was so good. It reminded me a bit of one of my mother-in-law's recipes, which is for magic bars, which has like coconut and condensed milk and chocolate chips and walnuts. I'm trying to think what else is in magic bars. That might be it. So good. Oh, hey, Houston, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, Arvada, Colorado, Chardon, Ohio. It's late where y'all are at. It's just about 9 o'clock here, so it's really late where y'all are at. Are you night owl sewing? Or are you just hanging out on YouTube, or what you up to? Yes. The bobbin's going a little further. I don't want to throw away any thread. I want to get all the way to the bottom of that bobbin. Oh, there it is. It's out. Okay. So I need to pull back the grid glider, get to my bobbin. And I'm one of those quilters who pre-winds a bunch of bobbins. So I have a whole bunch of bobbins sitting here with one ready to go. No reason to wind a bobbin. When I'm winding a bobbin, I just wind all the bobbins. And that way they're done all at once. And then a drop-in bobbin is super easy. This, by the way, that I sew on, this is my Baby Lock Ballad. In lots of my other videos, I'm sewing on a smaller machine, which is my Baby Lock Jubilant. But the Baby Lock Ballad is my nice big machine. Usually when I'm sitting and sewing, I'm sitting and sewing at this one. Hi from Missouri. What model Baby Lock is that and what foot are you using? Thanks. So this is the Baby Lock Ballad. Before this, I had a Baby Lock Aria, which is really, really similar. So the Ballad is like the newer version of the Aria. And the foot is the 1/4 inch foot with guide. So there are lots of versions of a 1/4 inch foot. This is the 1/4 inch foot with guide. I have a bunch of like favorite feet, and this one is one of them. You can also get basically the same foot, but without the guide. That's also an option. And then the fabric, because people have been asking, the fabric that I'm using is Art Gallery Fabrics Ink Perfect in Indigo, and this is available in stores now. So if you love it as much as I do, get it now. I got a bunch of it. I have bolts of it in because this is what I made the block of the month for 2025 out of. And it's so fun. I took the photos for the 2025 block of the month at the beach. So all the calendar photos are beachy, and I did them all like right around sunset. So they're just like these perfect beachy sunset photos. Mandeville, Louisiana. Welcome, welcome. If you're just popping in, let me know where you're popping in from. And also, to be a good YouTuber, I need to tell y'all, subscribe. There's so much coming up these next couple months with the block of the month calendar and Advent. I have some more fun stuff coming up with the Art Gallery Fabrics. What's it called? Astrodelic quilt. I took that up to the mountains with me this weekend, and I was doing some hand quilting on it. So we'll be doing some more talking about hand quilting on that Astrodelic quilt and some fun hand quilting. All right, I just have a couple more here, and then I'll cut them and then call it a night. So I was only going to sew for 30 minutes, but of course 30 minutes becomes like 45 minutes when you just need to finish up a project. You can't just stop. You need to find a good stopping point. So I need to find a good stopping point, which is at the end of sewing the second piece on all these squares. Almost there. That's ready to be the last one, and then we'll cut using my Blade Saber thread cutter, which is one of my favorite chain piecing tools. There we go. This is the Blade Saber thread cutter. If you've never seen it before, it's cool. It looks kind of like a snowflake, but that's an old rotary blade in there. So when your rotary blades are too dull to cut fabric, they can still be sharp enough to cut thread. So you can put an old blade in one of these Blade Saber thread cutters, and then you have a handy little tool for cutting your chain piecing. And I have this one in two colors. I have a pink one, and then I have this blue one. So I try to keep the blue one here by this machine and the pink one over by the other machine, and that way I don't have to hop back and forth when I need them. All right, friends, what do you have planned for tomorrow? I know tomorrow I'm going to be pressing these and then maybe sewing some more on them. It'd be awesome if I could get this on the long arm by tomorrow, but I know I need to get advent calendar videos edited. So I don't know how much sewing time I will get tomorrow. Lots to do, still lots to do. I can just see how these are going to look. I'm excited. They're so good. I need to turn off my timer. It's still beeping at me, letting me know that it's gone off and that I need to truly shut it off. So tomorrow all of these can get pressed. So I've got my stack of sewing that I did tonight. That's not too bad. Let me turn off my timer. Turn off my machine, turn off my light, and I'm going to turn off the live. Friends, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me tonight. I really enjoyed getting this all sewn, just a little bit further on this project, and just some time to sew and hang out with some friends. All right, friends, sweet dreams. Good night.